So I'm on the traditional lands of the Kulin Nation and would like to acknowledge both the Wurundjeri and Boon Wurrung peoples and pay our respects to their elders past and present. So a little teaser about ITE if you're not familiar with us, although I'm sure Eric's going to be touching on what a fantastic resource ITE is in just a moment. So ITE is an international organisation that consists of, I think, over 17,000 members now across 75 countries. And it's an awesome organisation if you'd like to learn from international best practice, access international resources, and be able to attend international events virtually or otherwise across the world. So we're always open to new members. So if you are interested in joining ITE, my door's always open. So reach out anytime via my email, ITE-ANZ website, or on LinkedIn. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our corporate sponsors who are displayed on the screen, without whom we wouldn't be able to deliver many of the free events that we do deliver throughout the year. And just a reminder to those who haven't bought their tickets, we do have our annual ITE meeting, ITE breakfast coming up tomorrow at Zinc in Federation Square, where we'll be hearing from Marion Terrell, and also a good opportunity to meet Eric in person. So I don't think it's too late. You can correct me if I'm wrong, David, but if you do want tickets and don't have them yet, feel free to reach out or pop onto the ITE website. Just a reminder to put yourselves on mute. I think done that automatically, so it's all good. And I'll now introduce Eric. So Eric is from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and as I mentioned, he's in Melbourne for a short 3 days. And today he's going to talk about the role of ITE councils and how the involvement of Australian and New Zealand transport professionals can benefit across both sides of the Pacific. So Eric started his journey with ITE as the local arrangements chair for the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area of ITE's Mid-Atlantic section in 2001, and worked his way up through the ranks to the president. And then in 2011, Eric joined ITE's Operational and Intelligent Transportation Systems Council as a member, and then again rose through the ranks to council chair. At the conclusion of his time as council chair, Eric was selected by the International Board of Direction to become the council leadership team vice chair, and rose to his current role as chair. So I think Eric's been involved with ITE councils for 12 years, which is pretty impressive. And he's also a member of the ITE's International Board of Direction. So for his day job, Eric serves as the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for Gannett Fleming, and he leads the firm's Managed Services division, which includes freeway traffic management centres, arterial operations centres, landside air operations centres, and customer service centres. So with that, I'll hand over to you, Eric. I'll let you share your screen as well.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Let me bring up my screen real quick. And can you see my screen?
That's come up. Thanks, Eric.
In the presentation mode. Just make sure we can see that too. All right. Well, great. Thank you so much, Danielle, for the warm welcome. And it's a real pleasure to be here with you all today and have the opportunity to talk to you about ITE councils. As Danielle said, I've been involved with councils for a long time. I'm starting to realize the more people read the bios, the older I get. So I appreciate that. But I've been fortunate enough to be involved with councils for a good part of my career. And it's given me a tremendous opportunity to grow as a professional. But I know that's not the case for everybody. Some people haven't really heard of councils before, or they might just know them by name, but really not know anything about them. And so my goal today is to share a little bit about ITE councils, and more importantly, how you or others across this section might be able to find a journey that fits your own style for ITE councils. And so the title of my presentation is about choosing a journey that works for you. And what I hope at the conclusion of this is that I can demonstrate ways that you can shape your own journey through the councils. So when we talk to people that have been involved with ITE councils for a long time, we've asked them, what are the motivations and benefits for involvement? And really, it comes down to 4 areas. expanding knowledge, skills, and abilities, giving back to a profession that most feel has given them so much, growing your professional networks, and advancing your own career. So let's take a little bit deeper look at each one of these. On the knowledge, skills, and ability side, or KSA side of things, we have 24 different groups that you can participate in, which means we likely have a topic that interests something that's important to you. And if we don't have a group that meets your needs, we also have a way where you can start a new group. So there's a lot of flexibility that way. On the skills side, whether you're a young professional looking to improve your technical writing or collaboration skills, or if you're an ascending professional and looking to gain experience in leadership and project management, we have all those opportunities for you to do that. And then, as I said, and then for the last one, from the ability standpoint, we have ways that you can document those successes throughout your journey, and you can use those for your own benefit. A lot of our members talk about giving back. I know I feel this way, and many people I encounter along the way at ITE feel that as transportation professionals, we've had amazing opportunities to contribute to bettering our communities. And so many of us have a strong sense of or desire to give back. And that's something that you can do through ITE councils. And as you can see here, there's ways, whether you're a younger member, a mid-career individual, or a seasoned professional, there's ways that each of us can give back through council involvement. Also, growing networks is an important thing that you can do through councils. As Danielle said, there's over 17,000 members now that are part of ITE, and we probably have on the order of magnitude of 2,000 of those individuals that are involved with councils across the 24 different groups in some shape or form. And so when you talk about, growing your professional network, everything we do in councils involves collaboration. And so a lot of my best friendships that I've developed through ITE has been with council involvement, and it's helped me expand my career. And finally, it's helped me advance my career. And, what we really talk about are two tracks, really, when it comes to ITE council involvement. Maybe you're a person that wants to grow to be a leader, a manager, grow within your organization, grow within, your day job, if you will. And so we have a leadership track where you can join a committee, just like I did, and then ascend through the ranks of leadership through experience and opportunity. Or maybe you're a person that really just thrives on producing good technical content that pushes our profession of transportation engineering forward and planning. And we can offer that to you as well through many different opportunities to be a peer reviewer, content contributor, task leader, or a project manager. So we have ways that, either way, people can embrace that and use it to advance their careers. And there's nothing that locks you into either track. If you choose to join those, you can change at any time. There's a lot of personal benefit to yourself and your career for being involved, but there's also benefit to others. Here, I've just incorporated two pieces of recognition from that just took place this past week. And that is the recognition of Amir Razavi as our young professional, or I'm sorry, as our Jeff Lindley Personal Technical Excellence Award winner. And then Peter Kuntz, who's part of our traffic engineering committee, who was a part of the team that was selected and recognized during the ITE Spring Conference for excellence in technical work in 2023. But what's worth pointing out here is that not only were Amir and Peter recognized, also their organizations were recognized by the fact that this is being promoted through their social channels, it's being promoted by ITE, and along with that name recognition of the individual also comes the recognition of the organizations. And so there's more benefit than just your own personal recognition that you can experience going through ITE councils. So let's take a closer look at some of the ways you can choose to be involved with our councils and committees. And so I'll touch a little bit on each of them and some of the activities that they're doing. First up is our Complete Streets Council. I did some research and it sounds a lot like the Healthy Streets Initiative here in Australia, but it really focuses on balanced use of streets by pedestrians, bicyclists, transit, freight, autos, and other forms of travel in both the planning, design, and construction and operation and maintenance part of transportation. You can click the QR code there to download 2 recent publications by the Complete Street Council, where they published a report on a residential local street sidewalk survey. And then they're doing some examination of things coming out of the pandemic. The first one they did was a lessons learned on adaptations of transportation for use for other uses than just for transporting people in moving vehicles during the pandemic. So with using it for restaurant, outdoor space, and so forth and so on. The Complete Street Council is comprised of 3 standing committees. One is mobility as a service. That's the ride share industry, the scooters and things of that nature. A specific standing committee on pedestrian and bicycles, and then also a transit standing committee as well. The two current projects I want to highlight that they're just getting ready to start is one is a technical brief. Again, keeping with the pandemic lessons learned track, they're going to look at how to make sure transit and public transport and pedestrian access isn't left behind in some of these quick builds as traffic builds back, and making sure that some of those things that were done during the pandemic are standardized for use in the future, because they were so many great examples of complete streets applications. And then the second one is looking at accessible streetscape design as an informational report, and thinking about how it's important to conduct streetscaping projects. It brings a lot of benefit, but we have to think about all users as we go about those projects. And so they're looking to compile an informational report on that topic. We also have an education council, which has an ethics standing committee as a standing committee to that. They are really seeking to be a resource for, not just professors and faculty, but also professional trainers, practitioners, and students that are interested in, the academic side of our industry. And so we have a great chair there. And this year they have 4 goals, and that is doing webinars, creating or updating a student chapter faculty advisor manual for ITE, looking at developing a student chapter tracking sheet so that there's a lot of interaction there, and you can read some of the other things that they are looking to do as well. So that is also a great council. And then we have our Transportation Planning Council. This council has a really aggressive plan this year. It has 3 standing committees as well: parking, transportation, and health and sustainability. And you can see the projects on the right-hand side here that they're working on. I'll touch on the planning membership drive in just a minute, but they've recently released a multimodal transportation impact analysis report, and they're looking to follow that on with case studies. We've formed a electrification working group in the US. There's been a lot of funding that's been put towards electrifying the vehicle fleet. And so ITE is exploring opportunities to really invest in that and provide useful information to practitioners. And visiting with the board yesterday, it sounds like there could be some applicability of that in the near future here in Australia, for sure, in the near future. But they're also looking at zero auto ownership topics. They're looking at implementing the value engineering approach into healthy transportation, looking at updating ITE's health and transportation hub, and then making connections to health, looking at a quick bite for that. And, as I go through each one of these councils in the overview, my main purpose for being here in Melbourne and learning more about what is of value to this section is so that we can make changes to how we do things in the councils so that they're more inclusive of topics that are important to you all. And so we can find ways to get this section involved with the councils, because I think ITE would be better off for it. I talked a little bit about the Transportation Planner Initiative. Through the end of this month, ITE has really put forward a big effort to invite transportation planners to be part of ITE. In the US especially, there's not a natural home for from an association standpoint of the linkage between planners and engineers. And it's something that I think as traffic and transportation professionals, portion that we do, there's such a strong linkage between planners that it makes a lot of sense. I was fortunate in November. I was featured as on ITE's podcast series to talk about the kickoff of this initiative. And through the end of March, planners can join for free. And then that'll go through March 31st of next year. And then they can have a second year at half price. So it's a way to sort of, for planners who haven't been members in the past 5 years, to take ITE for a test drive and see if it's an organization that could benefit them. In the time that we've been running this membership drive, the number's now over 800 planners that have joined ITE, and you can see they come from all around the world, including some here in Australia. So there's definitely an appetite across all of the world, not just the US, for engaging planners and bringing together planners and transportation engineers to do a better job for the communities we serve. So if you have any friends who are planners who haven't maybe been part of ITE in the past, now is the time to invite them, really at no risk to them, to register and take a look at what we're offering and be part of our community. The next council I'll touch on is the Safety Council. It's one of our larger councils. There's a very large focus on safety in the US. It has 3 standing committees: a Vision Zero, Forensics and Risk Management, and also a data-driven safety analysis standing committee. In 2023, they were able to publish 2 technical briefs, one on the applications of big data and safety analysis, or I'm sorry, they're working to publish these rather, and also one on the core elements of a safe system for a long-range safety program. And then right now they're forming teams for 2024 to look at work related to safety audits, roadway safety on arterials, and vehicle electrification safety. So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved and be part of that work. They also run a very robust webinar program. Together, the ITE councils deliver between 50 and 70 webinars a year. So when you see the free webinars that are offered through ITE, there's a strong possibility that one of them is coming from the ITE councils. That's another easy way to get involved with councils and see how it can fit into what you want to do. You can see there's a large list of them. For a complete list on all webinars being offered, you can access that through the ITE website under the events tab. At the Traffic Engineering Council, that is our largest council that we have, and they are working on a very large set of topics, and they have actually 4 standing committees. One focused on railroad grade crossings in the US. That's a real safety point of contention, and there's been a lot of work around signalization and signalization standards and hardware standards when it comes to these at-grade railroad crossings. So we have a specific committee dedicated to that. We also have a roundabout standing committee, which I think could benefit from interaction from this section, as well as a transit or Public Transportation Committee, and a committee that's looking at micro simulation and capacity analysis, ongoing understanding of that. Right now, they're looking to form 3 teams. One is about enhancing safety on rural roads through signing and pavement marking. Second is on curbside management guidance that they want to come up with. And then the last one is on cybersecurity for surface transportation, looking at our electronic, increasingly electronic approach to transportation and making sure that we are protecting the infrastructure against bad actors. So here's a couple of projects that are underway already. And for each of these, there's still opportunities to, many opportunities to get involved. The first project is looking at pedestrian crossings at roundabouts. They did a quick bite. I'm going to explain what all of the projects or what all the product types are here in a couple of minutes. But they're looking at pretty, here in the US rather, I should say, they're, as you can see in the picture on the bottom right, there's these very expansive roundabouts that have a pretty large footprint, and there's a lot of education that needs to go into educating US pedestrians on how to negotiate roundabouts carefully and safely. And so that's what this project is looking to do. A second project is looking at a guide to speed reduction techniques. We've had of course, speed bumps, speed humps, everything else that's in the traffic calming toolkit. But with a lot of the newer vehicles out there, with a lot of new devices and such, there's time or space really to make recommendations for how to design those, and what is appropriate given the vehicle type out there and what you're trying to achieve with those. And so they're embarking on what is the most stringent project that a council or that ITE can complete, and that's a recommended practice where it's officially recognized as the standard that things should be designed to. And so that's what this project is about. And then they're also working on a project about clearance intervals. There is a current ITE recommended practice on traffic signal clearance intervals, and they're doing new research on that to see if the practice is appropriate or if there should be revisions made. And then seeking input from others, and then working mostly in North America, but working with other agencies to get feedback on that as well. And David, I think you wanted to make a comment here about this one, right?
Yes, I did want to make a comment. I made some submissions when this was being discussed, and then after this was published, I was part of a joint paper with Peter Yauch and somebody else, another person from America. So I've been heavily involved in this, and my strong recommendation is we should not adopt this recommended practice in Australia. Yeah. What Austroads recommends for yellow times and all red times of traffic signals is what we should follow, and it's a very educational process to actually be involved in the development of this guideline through the ITE. But where they landed is very different from our practice, and I think is far too conservative in terms of the yellow times. They're recommending yellow times as much as 6 seconds long in 60-kilometre-hour zones, which I think is a bit crazy. But only in some circumstances. So that's my little warning about that. It's a fantastic publication, very interesting to see the principles behind intergreen times of traffic signals, but where they landed in the end, I think is not what we should adopt in Australia.
So I think
that's my little rant.
Yeah. Eric, can I have a mini rant? Really an extension of what David's saying. Do either of you two have any insight into that? Is it a cultural thing? Is it the way you enforce regulations? What do you think's causing that?
I think the cultural difference is that a lot of the push and the comments that came through to the ITE from motorist organisations is that they are trying to avoid people being enforced by red light running. So they want to make the yellow time as long as possible to minimise the chances of people having to pay a fine, basically.
So it's something to do with the litigation processes that go on in the US and the difficulties of enforcing, you know, like speed limits and all sorts of traffic regulations. There's something different, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I will just say, you know, from walking around Melbourne today, I can see why you guys share that opinion, because, you know, I saw a couple instances today where, you know, there was a yellow light that was about to turn red, and people actually stopped and backed their vehicle up to get back beyond the pedestrian crossing area. Whereas in the US, people would hit the gas and they would keep going. So maybe that's a little bit about it. But I think what you guys bring up is a good point on how we have to find a better way to be truly international when it comes to the publications that we're producing as part of councils. And we had a good dialogue last evening talking about how it's important for us, I think, to get together and debate the philosophical pieces of these different topics, and then realize that, you know, the standards might vary by region, right? But we can philosophically agree on or understand what the differences are for better education and understanding. So that's one of the things I've taken away from the visit here already, and something I want to take back and put some thought into figuring out how we, you know, overcome that. Where, you know, I think that there would have been room in this document had this meeting, me being here, already happened and we made some changes. I think there would have been room in this document to say, here's the philosophy around clearance intervals, right? Here's what they're for. Here's why we might look at changing them. And then another section in there that talks about, here's what the recommended practice is going to be for the US. Here's what the recommended practice is going to be for, you know, Australia, New Zealand. Here's a summary of recommended practices for other parts of the world, right? So I think that gets at the heart of what the true value is in saying that ITE is an international organization. Right now, we just need to put the international piece into practice more than it has been, to make these documents that we produce more applicable and representative of all of our membership, not just the North American point of view, which, by the way, I don't even know about this particular topic, you know, if this is applicable in Canada either, right? Which is also a North American country, of course, but can have different practices than the US. So I think there's an opportunity on these documents that we put out to try to reach consensus on the philosophical approach to these topics, and then recognize and create guidance that's good for all of our members.
That's the proper way to get world's best practice, right?
Yeah, that's right. Nick, David, anything else before I move on here?
No, keep going. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. So another project that they're working on, and I think this, you know, might tie David and Nick to what we were talking about yesterday and what you guys just brought up, and that is, in the US, automated enforcement is very much so not standardized. And so we're trying to understand the nuances to that, trying to collect information that we can eventually use to create, you know, defensible information. And that's where I think, you know, this interaction could really be of benefit. And then project number 5 was something that the Traffic Engineering Council actually won an award for at last week's ITE Spring Conference, and that is for their work to implement a signal timing webinar series. It's stretching over two years, And it's designed to go all the way from, fundamentals for somebody brand new to our profession to, very specific topics on the high end of the topic. So, and then tying a lot to real world examples and trying to make sure it's being inclusive of all members. So I think there's opportunities to include you all in that as well. And then number 6, and I think the last one for them is a pavement marking condition assessment, webinars and quick bites to help agencies understand what to do in that area. All right, the next one I want to talk about, the next council is one in the US we call Transportation Systems Management and Operations. It's called the TSMO Council. And really what the TSMO Council focuses on is, pushing forward the practice of transportation engineering and planning to manage congestion every way short of making changes to the infrastructure. So that could be implementation of ITS devices, of road incident management concepts, connected and automated vehicles and the like, and other solutions like that. So that's what they focus on. They have 3 standing committees, one on connected automated vehicles, one on smart communities, and one on urban goods movement, which is freight in the downtown area is what it is for. One of the core things they do in the US is they maintain a partnership with a group that ITE is a joint member or sponsor of, and that's called the National Operations Center of Excellence. That's a partnership in conjunction with AASHTO, which is America's Association for State DOT members, and also ITS America. And I want to touch a little bit on this partnership with the National Operations Center of Excellence, because members here can also benefit from this partnership. And that is, they're working on 3 strategic goals with regards to TSMO, or Transportation System Management and Operations. And that is attracting, developing, and sustaining and expanding the workforce, looking at accelerating the deployment of practices and strategies, and then mainstreaming operations as a core function. In the US in particular, we still have pockets where people think infrastructure first, road widening, major infrastructure projects. And so this council looks to provide alternatives to that. I just want to show this slide here quickly. This is a kind of a summary of the current tasks that the National Operations Center of Excellence and our ITE Council TSMO Council are working on to implement. And you can see here, they've got a whole set of strategies and tasks and tactics that they're undertaking in that partnership. And I know that, there may not be an overarching term here like TSMO or traffic operations like there is in the US, but I think a lot of the components of it are definitely visible and part of what we do here in Australia. And then last, I'll just highlight 2 special groups we have created in response to changes that we're seeing in the industry, and that is our data committee. And you can see on the right-hand side, they have 4 main focus areas that they're trying to implement, again, on availability with standards, governance, workforce needs, and then use cases and strategies. So this is a newer group. This could certainly benefit from having inclusion from a more global perspective. And I would love for some members here in this section to get involved with this group. And then the last one I'll touch on is a new equity committee that was formed in 2022. This one is really focused on the planning and design aspect of equity, how we build that into our projects better, how we take better care of considering vulnerable users and all users on the system, and making sure that we are providing transportation that works for everybody. I will also mention that ITE has 3 employer councils. These are not focused on technical products. These are focused more on the professions. And that's our Consultants Council, a Public Agency Council, and an Industry Council. The goal of these 3 councils are really to provide a place where people who are more interested in, I guess, pushing for the idea of how the practice of transportation planning and engineering takes place, given those 3 different roles. And they have some projects they are working on, a sandbox competition that promotes the idea of bringing university students and professionals together to take on innovative topics and then compete for a competition in that. In the US, they also worked on creating a consultant selection guide, and then they really focus on linking professional needs with technical topics. So throughout the presentation here, you've heard me talk a lot about different topics. You heard me mention quick bites, you heard me mention informational reports, technical briefs, and the like. And so really what I think about is our products exist in 3 buckets. One bucket is about thought leadership, where we're trying to, define a concept, or, we hear of a developing trend or something that's changing out there, and we're trying to put our best foot forward to make that understandable by ITE members and, people who rely on ITE for information. And that is our LinkedIn blogs, our developing trends, our webinars, and I did forget to put on here our quick bites. Our quick bites are 1 to 2 page documents that are designed to offer just a quick educational experience about certain topics. And then there's best practices, and that's where we take great examples of things being done that we find, and we try to spread the information, spread the news about those best practices so that all of us can benefit from what we're seeing done out there. And that's where we do have that webinars cross into that category as well. Certainly ITE journal articles do that, as well as meeting sessions and technical briefs. And then the last bucket that I think of is advancing the practice, where ITE is going to come out on certain topics and really put all of the data in, all of the thought in, to say these are things our industry should be doing. There's variations out there, but this is how it should be done. And we're going to provide our argument and information to support that claim. And those are our 2 most robust products, and that are informational reports and recommended practices. But as you listen to everything that I talked about being done, as you think about potentially your joining ITE councils and defining your own journey, we recognize that not everybody has the same amount of time or desire to be equally involved with what we do in the councils. And so I offer this graphic that shows from the very left, the most simple kind of activity to be involved with, to the right, and the most time consuming. And the reason for the triangle is that, as the complexity of the products goes up, the team size needed to complete them and the time to complete them changes. So, I mentioned 3 buckets, right? The thought leadership, the best practices, and then, the advancing the profession. And so I've kind of used that same idea here. It's not maybe as black and white as I have shown, but, generally things like LinkedIn blogs, developing trends, webinar hosting, those are going to be small teams of 2 to 3 people. If you're somebody who is not comfortable in a large group, but you want a chance to contribute, these are excellent ways for you to do it. They don't last that long. They take just a couple of months to do. And then you're moving on to the next thing. For people that want to be part of smart team, for people that want to be part of small teams, want to have more of an ongoing involvement, then looking at ITE journals, quick bites, planning meeting sessions, and some of the technical briefs might be for you. Those are typically teams of 5 to 8 people, and those projects last for about 6 months. And then for technical briefs, informational reports, and recommended practices, those are larger teams of 10 or more, and they take multiple years to complete in most cases, but we still break them down so that you can choose small roles within those projects that suit your needs and your desires for how you want to leverage ITE membership for your own purposes. And so we use a term we call micro volunteering within those. So you might want to be the project manager of one of these. You might want to just be a task manager, all the way down to just being an editor or a reviewer. So we try to design things so that, like I said, you can shape it for what works for you. So a couple of common questions. Is do I need to be an expert to be involved with ITE councils? And the answer is certainly not. No. They're for experts, but they're also for people that want to learn by immersing themselves in topics. So if you are new to equity and you want to understand how to take that and apply it to what you do, then we're more than happy to have you join the equity committee. And the same could be said for any of the committees that we have. And again, as I just pointed out, we want you to choose a role that helps you engage and grow your professional network and your KSAs in a way that's comfortable for you. Now, here's a big one, especially for this section. How do I participate if I don't live in North America? And of course, we've talked about the challenges since I've been here with the time zones, but one of my goals has been to reduce that as a challenge. There are things we can do logistically to make participation in meetings possible here. But really the meetings aren't the only way to be involved. They're just one activity that takes place. What I've really tried to focus on in my time here is increasing the electronic capabilities of ITE so that we can collaborate across regions. So we've launched a Microsoft Teams environment. If you join a council or a committee and you want to get involved, the documents are managed through that environment, and that's where all the collaboration takes place. So we're not relying on people sending documents back and forth through emails or things like that. It helps with version control. It also helps with being more inclusive, and it makes it easier for people to keep that organized and in one place. We've published all of our action plans and projects on ITE.org. If you go to the ITE website and you click on Connect from the top menu and click on councils, each council that you click on shows their current action plan that they're carrying out for 2023. And the chair and vice chairs are listed there, so you can get in touch with them and get involved that way. The spring conference, which just concluded, there's opportunities for us to expand that and be more inclusive. And again, that's a virtual activity. So, there's the live version of that. And then there's also the recorded content that stays as part of the ITE Learning Hub for, 6 or 8 months or more. And then the last one I want to touch on is the creation of the traffic wiki. And I think this is a game changer for how ITE curates and makes knowledge available. I'm just going to jump to that slide. So last week we launched the traffic wiki, which is an adaptation, not a replacement for, but an adaptation of ITE's traffic engineering handbook. And so what we did was we used the Wikipedia type format to create a resource that's free to ITE members and it works just like Wikipedia does. And it's has all of the topics that are shown here on this slide. In addition to this being a great resource, it also lends itself to incorporating information, lots of different places, including, this section. So David, to your point earlier, I think there's an opportunity with the traffic wiki now, for us to incorporate content on, say, the clearance intervals discussion that can still make the traffic wiki a destination or an important resource for practitioners and members here in this section, while having that philosophical piece and the regional specifics. So I think this is a great tool that we can leverage to really embrace that international organization feel. Just real quickly, I'll show some of the content that's in the traffic wiki. You can see on the left there is the overall table of contents. On the right, top right there is talking about all of the pages that exist. And then on the bottom right is just an example of how the information is presented as part of the traffic wiki. And I think it's going to be a great tool for all of us. So with that, I want to make this a little bit interactive. If you could all take out your phone. I've done, of course, all the talking almost up to this point, but I'd love to get some feedback from the group here. So if you wouldn't mind, take your phone and scan the QR code, and that should bring up Slido on your phone. And when it comes up, it's going to ask you for a passcode, and that is the WHEAFZ along with your name. And then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. The first one here is about whether or not ITE Council involvement interests you. So I'll pause for just a minute. I think we're good on time. We have about 10 minutes left, so we'll do this quickly. Hopefully it's not too much of a challenge for people to log in. And while people are filling that out, it might be a good time. Not sure who else was going to speak here, if it was going to be you, Danny, or if Matt was on the line and going to say a few words, or David was, but it might be a good time to make some of these other comments as well. Take a look at the questions that are in here too. I just now saw that there were some questions in the chat here. So Marian asks, do the councils have a framework where projects interact? For example, urban goods movement, especially from poor areas which involve road and rail movements impacting urban form and function. I would say, Marianne, I think you're speaking kind of about collaboration there between the groups, maybe? Is that what you meant by your question?
Yes, that's correct.
So we do focus a lot on encouraging collaboration between the councils. I didn't have any in the presentation here, but we have a few good examples of projects right now. A few good projects right now where collaboration is going on. I don't know specifically if there's one going on that topic, but collaboration across groups is a pretty normal thing that we do. All right, so this shows that the majority of you do think that council involvement interests you. So let's go here to a more of a free form question for this next one. And I'd love to hear of what I talked about, just a single word or phrase, if you could type it in. What interests you in the things that I talked about as far as the council's topics go? Oh, that's a great sample coming in there. Thank you very much. Safety, roundabouts, electrification, Traffic engineering, electrification. Electrification seems very popular here as well. Is there a lot going on right now in talking about introducing electric vehicles into the transport network here?
I think we're a long way behind America, and certainly a long way behind Europe. So I think this is a particular area where we can learn a lot from what's happening in North America and Europe.
Okay.
But the answer is we're very slow in adopting electric vehicles here. But
Yeah.
because we're slow, hopefully we can learn the lessons from everywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. So it looks like safety was the number one interest area here. So that's great. We have such a strong safety council that'll be pretty easy. So the last question I have on this is, what did you not hear me talk about that would be beneficial if IT council is explored for you? Danny, I believe you were supposed to serenade the group with your favorite song during these slides, weren't you?
Oh, sorry, I was doing it. I just realized I was on mute the entire time. So apologies, everybody.
Maintenance funding. Okay. This is a little harder because this is not just reacting to what I said. It's other topics. So asset management, that's a good. Social isolation is a good one. You know, I was reading a book on the way over here, and it talked about loneliness being one of the biggest drivers of how we interact with our world. And of course, COVID brought on a lot of loneliness. So I think that's a legitimate question. Walking and cycling with other interface. Is PASOVE, is that a term for here, or is that a typo? Passive, was it maybe meant to be passive? Community engagement, that's a good one. That's something that the equity committee is looking at as well. So we do have some folks looking at that too, but that's a good one. Great, thank you so much. That's I think everybody's responded, it looks like. So those are great topics that I'll take back. Passive, thank you, whoever brought that in. So asset management was the number one vote getter in that one. That's interesting. But that's great interface because you know, I can take this and we can start to explore these and see how we can use this to bring value to the members of this section. So my last slide here before I turn it back over to the group is, how do I start my journey? Well, if you're not already a member, join ITE. Through the e-community, you can join as many councils as you'd like. You can explore what council might be best for you by going to ite.org, clicking on connect, and then clicking on councils and committees to find the chair of the group or group that interests you the most. And then you can use the IT member directory to reach out to them, or you can contact me directly and I'll help you get involved with where you want to go. And then you can shape the direction that's best for you as you go. So that's it for me. I want to thank Danielle and David and Nick and everybody else again that took all the time to organize this. And I really appreciate all the opportunity to do this. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Eric. So thank you for a great presentation. It's only a reasonably small group here. So if anyone would like to unmute themselves and ask any questions or start any discussion, we've got a couple of minutes left if you'd like to do that. Nick's
Can I also-
always
sorry.
keen.
Can I just say, sorry, this is Daniel here. I'm the, what am I called? The Global District Director of ITE. I'd just like to also highlight that this shows, demonstrates ITE headquarters in the US's willingness to work with the ANZ section by sending Eric out here to meet with us, to have these discussions with us. So they are really keen. And every time I attend a directors meeting, they're always telling us they want input from our area of the world. They know they don't know everything. They know the way they look at certain things is maybe very, very different to how we see the world and how we interact with different things. And so they are really keen for that input from us. So if you have the opportunity to participate, I strongly recommend you do.
Only question I can think of, Eric, is where you're moving into the planning area a little bit more. Is there, if you're a planner and you're thinking, look, should I get involved or something, which council should you explore?
You know, I can speak to that as somebody who helped my own staff at my company get involved. And I think there's elements of planning in most of our councils. I think for the young lady that I helped in our company, the Complete Streets Council really spoke to her. It was something that met up with a lot of her passions that she had. Obviously, the Planning Council is also doing a lot of interesting things. And the TISMO Council a little bit was are probably the three most that I've had the interaction with. I've had some interaction across them all, I think, but those three would be the greatest amount of interaction that I've had.
And if you wanted to go to some of the committee meetings, you can do them online.
Correct. Yeah, everything is held online through Microsoft Teams. One of my take backs from here is that we're going to start recording all of those meetings and make them available through the various ITE channels, so that you know, if you are a member of a council but it doesn't work out for you to attend the meeting, you can still listen in later, and then through the chat function you can interact with that. And also you know, it is the time zone issue is solvable. If we do them at, say, 4 p.m. on the US East Coast, that's going to be 8 to 9 a.m. here, and 12 p.m. on the West Coast of the US. So, you know, it's not insurmountable for these three geographies. Like, you know, we can't, there's a struggle with some of the geographies, but on these three specifically, we can overcome the time zone issue. And like I said earlier, Nick, what I don't want to, how I don't want it to be seen is that if you can't make the meeting, you can't be involved, because that's not the case, right? The meeting is one venue, and my goal is to create this interaction where if time zones can't be accommodated every time, or let's face it, even if the time zones are accommodated, you still might have to miss a meeting because we're all volunteers, right? So not using that as an excuse or as a reason or a barrier, we can't do it, right?
Yep.
Okay, look, it's just after 1:30, so I think we should close off the formal session at this point, but if anyone wants to hang around, feel free. So again, a great thank you to you, Eric, for number one, being here, and number two, giving us this presentation today. So thank you very much for that, and I hope to see all of you bright and early tomorrow morning at our breakfast session.
Yeah.